look at what is there briefly as we await to get a hold of our guests who will be joining us, some virtually, some will be here, so that we can expound some more on these conversations. The Standard newspaper, the 5th day of July, that is on Monday, 2021. And the first key thing, or the biggest stories, school head ignore Magoha on extra fees. Before we get to that, in the footsteps of Tom Mboya to Rusinga Island, some bit of history, really, really important, or mention it as a special report, a story captured on page 22 and 23. Grab a copy and get to see what the Standard details of the same on Vatican's London luxury deal. And speaking of Vatican, we've seen the Pope has been taken ill. He is expected to undergo surgery, and therefore we'll be following up on that to keep you up to speed. And Kenya tops in digital finance, that in regards to matters business. This at a point when the government has declared that the tax shoots up for those who use the digital space. Internet is going to be more expensive. Same applies to the airtime or credit, so to speak, because then the phone calls that you will be making will be extra expensive from what we are used to usually, which has not been received well. That, though, then is likely to hit hard on these individuals that are in the e-commerce space, because the majority of Kenyans now have resorted to go and conduct business at that particular space. So how this will affect them is a question of wait and see. We'll keep having these conversations, and we see whether it is necessary that the government does an adjustment of the same. School heads ignore Magoha on extra fees, and despite government's warning, some secondary school principals are asking parents to pay between 5,000 and 35,000 shillings as development fees before issuing with Form 1 admission letter. The story captured on page 4. Contrary to what most parents would have expected, it all appears like it is a free aspect of education, but such is not the case, as many parents will tell you that it is getting more and more expensive as expected, even as the Ministry of Health is always out there dishing orders on what principles should follow. Crocodiles leave trail of death in Baringo villages. Lake Baringo is the only available source of water, but residents of surrounding villages fetching water there are at the mercy of reptiles. It is so bad. And a story captured on page 24 and 25 yesterday also, I met this guy who lost his legs because, well, he went out fishing somewhere in Naivasha, hit by hippos, and it was, the rest is history. It's so bad. He's not able to even fend for his family right now at the state that he's in, and therefore it tells you how difficult it is for communities that are living around this water body areas. It is quite unfortunate. On matters politics and what we'll be discussing this morning, Raila and Ruto clash over graft purge claims. Just who is corrupt? Deputy President William Ruto accuses leader of graft, or ODM leader, of graft with ruling party a day after Raila said that he will jail corrupt officials in the Jubilee administration should he ascend to power after next year's general elections. Probably a clear indication that we expect to see Baba on the ballot. But most importantly, what we focus much on is on this conversation of politics. And if you know the ones who are corrupt, then what are you supposed to do in terms of ensuring that such is dealt with? It is really, really important. That is also a story that has been captured on the front page of the Daily Nation. And like I said, what we'll be discussing this morning as we continue with the broadcast. Those are the key stories on the Standard newspaper. The Daily Nation, as I have said, graft, Raila, Ruto, trade fresh barbers, and war of words between Deputy President William Ruto and ODM leader Raila Odinga is back. This time, the two are squabbling of allegations of corruption in government, with each pointing a finger at the other, after the Deputy President appeared to accuse the former Prime Minister of running a graft cartel that is in government, as captured on page 6 of the Daily Nation. As you can see the faces there, is a question of blame game, and we'll be looking at that as we continue with the broadcast. And on matters education, as captured on the Daily Nation, teachers cry foul as TSC gives interns a head start. It's going to be interesting to watch. Protests at alleged favoritism have rocked the Teachers Service Commission recruitment of about 9,000 teachers unemployed Teachers and those working in private schools have protested at what they claimed was a skewed scoring method that disadvantages them, with favoring interns serving under the commission. TSC has increased the marks awarded to the teacher interns from about 10 to 30%, sparking the protest. Now, the commission has also reduced the marks awarded for length of stay over graduating, which used to give priority to older unemployed graduates. A story captured on the back page, of the Daily Nation. As always, mostly they will capture the education stories on the back page. Another story is captured where Kenyan-born judge Jamal makes history in Canada. Mahmoud Jamali is the first person of color to sit on the bench of Canada's Supreme Court. He was born in Nairobi 1967 before his family moved to England. Congratulations to him. And a story captured on page 3 when we see one of our own making strides in a space that appears to be murky, in a space that is not left for the black, then we definitely get to celebrate them. And there you go. I have touched on the key stories. Let's look at the upper bit. And on matters health, not all vaccines work the same way. Well, AstraZeneca works against a Delta variant, but not Alpha. It's going to be interesting to watch also, even as reports are out here that, well, if you combine AstraZeneca maybe as the first dose and then you get Pfizer, then it's likely to boost the immune system even more, as the medics would argue, and therefore recommending that for countries that have not been able to get the second dose or jab of AstraZeneca, if they started with the same, they can as well get the second of Pfizer. Now, Jubilee to change colors in rebrand, and a meeting of ruling parties' top organ to also discuss planned coalition with ODM. A story captured on page 4, and what we'll be looking at extensively this on matters succession politics, and we'll look at that later. People Daily. Again, the key story, Ruto Raila face off over graft. It is going to be interesting to also watch this, as these key leaders are now officially coming out guns blazing. Such has been the case, but now this on a different matter, or a different higher scale, that in regards to matters graft. We'll be looking at that as we continue. And as I have said earlier on, Pope Francis undergoes colon surgery. Pontiff admitted to hospital in Rome for operation to treat a stomach problem, and we wish him nothing but the best as we follow up on that to keep you up to tabs. And a different story, KRA defies pandemic to surpass target. Well, that is an interesting one. A story captured on page 15, whether it works in handy for the common mwananchi, in that what has been collected will be used in favor of them, for them to realize development, is one thing that equally is a question of wait and see. Tycoons who control Kenya's politics, some of them now officially declaring their interest, the likes of Jimmy Wanjigi. Now we can see the faces of the individuals that run the political scene, yet they are not politicians. We're talking of Equity's James Mwangi, Royal Media Group, SK Macharia, Narendra Ralaguru, Devki Group, Nairobi businessman Jimmy Wanjigi, Peter Munga, Equity Bank founder, Kotu boss Francis Atuoli, Johnston Mudhama, Gemstones dealer, and Asela Logistics Peter Mudhoka. And these faces, in as much as you probably would not see them on the floor, they are always out there behind running the world. If not, if it's not that death actually came in, you probably would have seen the face of Chris Kirubi here, wealthy businessman, keep to build networks across the political divide, and have since 2007 played a hidden role of cobbling up alliances and bankrolling their preferred candidates. Indeed, such is what has played out, and it is definitely what we have seen across the different countries in the world, that mostly politically you find that they are businessmen in the best interest of their businesses that would want sanity, or would prefer certain cloud of leaders to make sure that their business are well protected. So it is an interesting one, worth a conversation. And now the likes of Njigi would want to even defy the odds further and maybe find themselves into the aspect of leadership. We look at all that as we continue. Briefly, what my team has prepared.